Hi everyone, I'm Maria Connolly. As a long-standing parent of Westonbirt School, I'm really privileged to be giving a virtual talk to you all. So a big thank you to Mrs. Dangerfield and the team for asking me to do so. So what I'm going to talk about is sustainability and the race to net zero. And just a bit of background about me, which will help perhaps just set the context of my professional involvement in sustainability and clean energy. So I'm a lawyer. I studied law at university, did my postgraduate qualification and trained with a law firm to do my training contract. I'm still at that firm, 20 years on. We're a national law firm, over 1,000 people nationally in 6 offices across the UK. I'm been a partner at the firm for many years and also head up our real estate and clean energy practices. I also sit on the firm's executive board. But it was 20 years ago, as I was doing my training contract, that we got involved in financing some of the first UK wind farms. And I was given the opportunity to be involved in those projects. And that was fantastic. These were some of the first projects in the UK. It was something that was fairly new, fairly novel, and I developed a real passion for getting involved in clean energy. So I was given that opportunity to be involved and developed a fairly significant clean energy practice on the back of that. An opportunity is something I really want to come back to throughout this talk because it really can form the direction in which you take in your career or beyond. So just to set a bit of background, fossil fuels, by which I mean coal, gas, oil, very much have historically powered the UK. And it wasn't until the 1970s that researchers started looking at developing alternative sources of clean energy. And there was a lot of talk in the 1980s that fossil fuels were perhaps causing a catastrophic impact on global climate change. And then early 90s, the UK reaches a pretty significant milestone where we see the first commercial wind farm start to power renewable electricity in the UK. And the technologies continue to develop. We see hydro, we see solar, and in 2011 we've then got our first commercial scale solar farm. So some fantastic clean energy progression over a relatively short period of time. And then in 2019, again, a really important milestone for the UK when clean energy provides more electricity to the grid than fossil fuels for the first time. And that is absolutely fantastic that we can now look to clean energy as a really major source of the UK's electricity system. So the UK has signed up to a legally binding target to get to net zero by 2050. And in fact, there's an aspiration to get there even quicker. So when I talk about the race to net zero, it is what we can all do to help speed up the ambition and see if we can achieve our net zero ambitions as quickly as we can. So what do we mean by net zero? Well, this is about achieving an overall balance between emissions that are produced and emissions which are taken out of the atmosphere. And there are a number of contributing factors to our emissions. And what I want to do is just spend a few minutes looking at those and for each just identifying what difference we might be able to make to increase our ability to get to net zero. So if we start with electricity, the biggest progress we've made so far in cutting carbon emissions has been changing the way that we generate electricity. We've almost completely switched away from coal power generation and massively increase the level of clean, renewable generation from wind, solar, biomass and other clean technologies. And it's really important that we continue that direction of travel. If we look at transport, cars and other modes of transport are much cleaner than they were back in the 1990s, but overall level of carbon emissions from transport have gone down actually very little. And that's because we're all taking more journeys. Electric vehicles have a huge part to play in reducing carbon emissions from transport, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. But transport isn't just about cars. We need to work towards a greener transport system using battery and potentially hydrogen technology for lorries, deliveries, public transport, including buses. And there have been great steps towards this, but we've still got quite a long way to go in relation to our public transport system. And if we look at heating, over 90% of us currently use gas or oil to heat our homes, and the majority of household carbon emissions come from heating, including generating hot water. So again, this is about making a major shift away from gas and oil and moving that in towards renewable heating. And that can come from a variety of different sources: solar panels, from boilers that are fuelled by biomass or low carbon gases, including hydrogen, and from heat pumps that extract the latent heat in the soil, air, or from a nearby water source. Aviation. Now, the aviation industry has come under quite a bit of pressure recently in how it is going to achieve the goal of getting to net zero. But it is working hard on ways to lower carbon emissions from flying, including making jet fuel from waste materials, for example. But that's probably not going to be enough to land on net zero by 2050. And we all have a part to play in terms of minimising our own flights, especially long haul, wherever possible. And I think carbon offsetting will also continue to play a really important role. The agriculture sector accounts for approximately 10% of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions. And many of the options for absorbing carbon emissions, such as planting trees or restoring peatland, involve changes to the use of land. So there definitely will be a need for increased focus on smarter farming, focusing on improving productivity, encouraging carbon capture, and really boosting the production of renewable energy. And I think the agricultural sector has responded really, really well to this, so hopefully we can start and see that shift as well. And if we look at waste, and perhaps this is the area where we can all make a difference, and part of this is small things really can make a very, very significant difference. And this might be through recycling, reducing our waste, and reusing wherever we can. Plastics, of course, remain a really significant threat for the environment and are a huge contributor to pollution and have become a significant harm to human life, wildlife, and our oceans. So the conservation of all of our resources by means of responsible production and consumption is pretty vital. So if we look at clean energy in a bit more detail, this year 30% of the UK's power will come from clean energy sources, which is an absolutely fantastic achievement. Now, looking forward, the UK is expected to need 90 gigawatts of wind energy and 80 gigawatts of solar power to meet its 2050 net zero target. And that's over 1,000% increase in clean energy. So if we look at onshore and offshore wind turbines, over 10,500 wind turbines producing electricity. And the UK is the world's 6th largest producer of wind power, which is absolutely fantastic. There are 7.3 gigawatts of ground-mounted field-scale solar across over 350 sites which are either operational or ready to build. And just to put that in a bit of context, that's enough to power over 5 million homes. And we've got other clean technologies which will very much help to power the UK as well, whether that's waste to energy, district heating schemes, biomass and anaerobic digestion. And a relatively new technology is battery storage. So this is about storing and harnessing the energy and then releasing it to the grid when we need the power the most. You've probably heard the expression, this is about keeping the lights on. And already the UK has over 50 battery storage projects with over 1 gigawatt of capacity. So we're doing great things in the UK and plenty more that is going on through the development phase to get more and more clean energy generating that electricity or renewable heat. Now, I've been pretty fortunate. I've been to quite a few wind farms, solar farms, hydro projects, whether that's through the construction process or once they're built and generating electricity. And what I wanted to share with you was just a very short film of a local wind park which was built by Ecotricity. So I worked with Ecotricity in relation to this project and also know that there are really close links with Ecotricity and the school as well. So I hope you enjoyed that film. I think it's a brilliant clip of just seeing how a wind park can start from a green field right the way through to operating turbines. And I've got to say, if you ever get the chance to go to a wind park or a solar farm, absolutely grab that opportunity. It comes back to some of the things I was talking about at the beginning of my talk. When you are given these opportunities, absolutely take it, because it does make a difference to just your understanding as to how clean energy can power the UK's system. So moving on to electric vehicles. I'm an EV driver myself, so I've learned quite a bit about EV from a personal context, although get involved quite a bit professionally as well in the work that I do. And I think 2020, again, has been a real turning point for EV. There are now nearly 300,000 EVs on the road, and that's set to continue pretty significantly, with the aspiration that by 2030, there's going to be an estimated 10.6 million electric vehicles on the road. And that's fantastic, with a view to by 2035, there'll be all new cars will be electric vehicles. But of course, what we now need to do is make sure that we've got the charging infrastructure to meet that demand of increase in electric vehicles. And some of that electric vehicle charging infrastructure will be at home, others will be in destinations such as supermarkets or leisure destinations or the workplace. So that forms quite a bit of the work that I'm doing at the moment, which is all the legal project work around electric vehicle charging infrastructure. But it's great to see the UK's commitment to this and watch this space in relation to more EVs hitting our roads. So sustainability is such a big subject, but I think when you're looking at sustainability, it relates to what large organisations, large companies are doing, but also the you and me. How can we make a difference which will also have that positive impact? And for today's purposes, I've broken sustainability down into just 3 areas. So products, people and planet. So if we look at products, if you're a large company, this is about providing services or products that are both profitable, but importantly, environmentally friendly. And for you and me, this is then about buying locally or ethically sourced products which are recyclable or are capable of being repurposed. And I think we're all seeing an increase in the focus of the products which are both produced and those that are bought by us as consumers. But this comes down to people. People play a huge part in sustainability. And again, if you're a large organisation or a company, you want to retain your staff. You want to attract new talent. So this is about engagement strategies. The role of the community is also so important, and just being aware of the impact of the global supply chain. And again, for you and me, the way we can help sustainability is by reducing our carbon footprint, maximising recycling, reducing the waste that we produce, and really importantly, maintaining that healthy lifestyle. And then if we turn to the planet, this is about, to make a difference, we absolutely all have a really, really big role to play. Whether that's through more clean energy, reducing air pollution, sustainable transport, our green spaces. But I think really importantly here is the education piece. The more we can talk about sustainability and understand what it means and how we can all make a difference, the better we'll be equipped to meet our targets. And it's really fantastic to see sustainability forming a key part of the school curriculum, and I know it's something that's a huge focus of Westonbirt School as well. So clearly we're in unprecedented times, and the pandemic has been and continues to be a huge global tragedy. But I think it has just caused us to reflect on certain aspects of our day-to-day life. And what I hope is that some of that can be translated into how we might return to school, return to work going forward. Because studies just in the last couple of months have really shown how COVID and the impact of lockdown has made a massive difference to sustainability. So if we look at the number of people working from home, lots of people were equipped to work from home anyway, but I think it's accelerated that for many, many organisations, and lots of talk at the moment about what the return to the workplace will mean. Will people be able to work a little bit more flexibly? More working from home, more remote working. So I think from a workplace and employer perspective, it'll just be interesting to see whether this influences us going forward. Now, a couple of months ago, I'd never heard of Teams or Zooms. And like you, I now spend a lot of my time on those virtual platforms. In my case, having meetings with clients, engaging with my team. And I think it's been fantastic to see how schools, for example, have been able to offer education in that virtual environment. And again, there's huge talk at the moment as to whether Zoom or Teams might just replace some of what would have been otherwise physical meetings going forward. Will we be able to use these platforms in a much smarter way to that we were doing previously? And in turn, that then impacts on travel. I was travelling quite a bit, a few days a week in London, other parts of the UK. But I wonder whether these new ways of working will actually enable us to positively reflect on how much we use our road system, trains, air and beyond, and just reflect on our own sort of use of transport. So again, early days, but certainly something for us to be mindful of in the return to school, the return to sort of the workplace going forward. And what will this mean? Well, if we can achieve it, we'll see nature returning to urban areas. We'll see reduced noise pollution. And I think the biggest impact so far has been reduced air pollution, very much on a global basis. So I'm pretty excited about how our new ways of our day-to-day might just impact really, really positively on the sustainability agenda. So I'm really passionate about inspiring future talent into the legal profession, the energy sector and beyond. And I also do a lot of mentoring, whether that's for other professionals or for graduates who are coming through, and sit on various steering groups. So it's so important that diversity and inclusion is at the forefront of the agenda. And this is diversity and inclusion in its broadest sense, whether that's from a gender perspective, ethnicity, or indeed social mobility. And I think the energy sector has so much to offer. It's predicted that by 2050, there'll be 40 million jobs directly related to clean energy. That's phenomenal. But if we are to achieve our ambitions of getting to net zero, we need to really nurture that future talent. I've been involved in clean energy for 20 years and have loved every moment of it. It's really satisfying to see that a project that you've worked on with clients and a wider team is really helping to make a difference to the UK's electricity and energy system. So it's something I'm really, really passionate about. And if I go back to some of those opening comments, I got involved in clean energy because I was given that opportunity to work on that very first project over 20 years ago. And for me, it's just encouraging everybody to really take that opportunity, be passionate about something and help everybody try and make that difference. So I thought I'd run a bit of a mini competition, just knowing how much you guys love a bit of a student challenge. So what I'd like you to do is invite you in 50 words to describe your best suggestion or idea for an environmental initiative which will benefit Westonbirt School and the local community. I'll then judge those entries along with school and make some good prizes available as well. And for me, this comes back to some of the comments I was making earlier. It's the small things, it's the small contribution that can really make the big difference. And by discussing what we can do to help reduce climate change and make a positive impact to the environment absolutely benefits us all. So do send your entries and indeed any questions that you've got about today's talk to the email address that I've put on the screen there. And we'll close the entries for the mini competition on 2nd of June 2020. So that's it from me, but I just wanted to say a really big thank you for giving up your time today to listen to my talk, and thank you to the school once again for inviting me along to give one of your virtual sessions. And I look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you, everybody.